My family spent all the money from the loan on the house, and when I was left with debts, they simply gave up on me. But I destroyed them. I used to believe that family was everything. I thought that if you gave them everything you had, they'd do the same for you. Turns out, I was a fucking idiot. It all started when I bought the house. Not just any house, a beautiful, spacious home with a huge backyard, modern kitchen, and enough bedrooms for everyone. My wife, my parents, even my younger sister, everyone would have their own space. It was the kind of home I had dreamed of growing up in, a cramped apartment, sharing a tiny room with my sister while my parents argued in the next room. And it wasn't easy. I took out a massive loan, one that would take decades to pay off. But I didn't care. My family had sacrificed a lot for me. I told myself this was just my way of giving back. And at first, it felt worth it. The day we moved in was one of the happiest of my life. My wife Sarah was glowing as she picked out furniture. My mom walked through the house in disbelief, repeating, "I can't believe we finally have a place like this." My dad patted my back, saying he was proud of me. Even my sister, who was usually glued to her phone, actually looked up and smiled. For the first few months, everything was great. We had family dinners, laughed together, and I actually felt like I had done something right. But then the requests started. First, it was small things. "We need a new couch for the living room," my mom said. Fair enough. The one we had was old. Then, "This kitchen is too basic. We should get marble countertops. Expensive, but all right." Then, "A pool would make this place perfect." A pool? Really? The worst part? It wasn't just requests, it was expectations. If I hesitated, even for a second, I'd hear, "Kevin, don't you want your family to live comfortably?" Or my favorite, "After everything we've done for you." I started feeling like an ATM, but I kept telling myself, they love me. They're just excited. They'll stop soon. Spoiler, they didn't. Sarah was the worst. She started talking about how she deserved a luxury lifestyle. How I needed to step up if I wanted to keep a woman like her. That should have been the biggest red flag of my life, but I ignored it. Then one day, I logged into my bank account and almost had a heart attack. The money was almost gone. I sat there, staring at the numbers, my heart pounding. How? Where the fuck did it all go? I had been making payments on time, but now I barely had anything left to cover the next month's mortgage. That's when I started asking questions. And that's when shit started to fall apart. I don't know what was worse, the realization that all the money was gone, or the way my family reacted when I started asking where the hell it went. At first, I was calm. Maybe there was some mistake. Maybe I had miscalculated. So I sat everyone down in the living room one evening, trying to sound as non-threatening as possible. "Hey, I was checking our finances, and I noticed we're almost out of money. Does anyone know what happened?" Silence. My mom fidgeted with her bracelet. My dad stared at the television. My sister, predictably, was glued to her phone. Sarah was the only one who spoke. "Oh, come on, Kevin, don't be dramatic. We just made the house a home. What's the point of having money if we're not going to use it?" "Use it?" I repeated, feeling my pulse spike. "Sarah, there was over $100,000 in that account a few months ago. Where the fuck did it all go?" My mom finally chimed in, her voice soft, like she was talking to a child. "Honey, we needed things. You wouldn't want your parents to live in a half-finished house, would you?" "A half-finished house? Are you fucking kidding me? We had furniture, working appliances, everything we needed. What else did you need?" More silence. Then my sister muttered without looking up, "You always were stingy." I swear to God, I almost lost it right then and there. "Stingy?" I repeated. "Are you serious? I bought this fucking house. I took on this debt. I have been paying for everything while you all just keep spending." My dad finally turned to me, scowling. "Watch your tone, Kevin. We're your family. You need to trust us." Trust? Trust them? I felt like I was losing my mind. I tried to get answers, but all I got were vague responses and excuses. "Oh, we needed some extra things. It's just money, Kev. Don't be such a control freak." It was like I was the bad guy for even asking. Then, just when I thought it couldn't get worse, I checked my bank transactions and saw one that made my stomach drop. A massive withdrawal. Someone had drained almost everything in one go. I confronted them immediately. Who the hell took the last of the money? No one spoke. My dad crossed his arms. My mom sighed dramatically. Sarah rolled her eyes. Sarah. My voice was shaking. You have access to the account. Did you do this? She scoffed. Oh, please, Kevin. Why do you always think the worst of me? I turned to my parents. Did either of you touch the money? Mom shook her head. My dad just kept scowling. But my sister? She was biting her lip, shifting uncomfortably. I stepped toward her. You know something. She didn't answer, but that guilty expression said it all. I grabbed her phone right out of her hands before she could react, and what I saw made my blood run cold. A fucking flight confirmation. First-class tickets. Luxury resort booking. Thousands of dollars spent. Oh, so this is where the money went? I held up the screen. My sister jumped up, trying to snatch the phone back. You spent my money on a goddamn vacation? It's not just your money, she shot back. You bought this house for all of us. What's yours is ours. I saw red. But before I could even start yelling, my dad stood up and said something that shut me up completely. Enough, Kevin. You're making a scene. You're acting like we stole from you or something. I stared at him. My jaw clenched so hard it hurt. That's exactly what you fucking did. He didn't even flinch. Just turned away like he was done with the conversation. And that was it. No apologies. No guilt. Just entitlement. Like they had every right to my money, my hard work. That night, I decided to cut them off. No more money, no more handouts. But the next morning, when I woke up, I realized it was too late. Because they were already gone. The next morning, I woke up to an empty house. And I don't just mean they weren't in the kitchen sipping coffee. I mean gone. Their bedrooms? Cleared out. Closets? Empty. Even my mom's collection of ceramic figurines that she swore she'd never leave behind was missing. At first, I thought I was losing my mind. Maybe they just left early for something? A trip? A family emergency? I grabbed my phone to call Sarah, only to find that she had blocked my number. Panic set in. I called my mom, straight to voicemail. My dad? No answer. My sister? Also blocked. I felt a cold, sinking dread. I ran through the house, opening every cabinet, every drawer. The fridge was half empty. The safe where I kept some emergency cash? Open and cleaned out. That's when I realized this wasn't just them avoiding me. They had left. For good. And the worst part? They hadn't just abandoned me. They had left me with the fucking debt. I didn't have time to process the betrayal, because an hour later, I got the call. The bank. Mr. Collins, this is a courtesy notice regarding your mortgage payments. We have not received your last payment, and we wanted to remind you that I just need a little time. I stammered, gripping the phone so hard my knuckles turned white. Mr. Collins, your last 3 payments have been incomplete. If you fail to make a full payment within 30 days, we will have to begin foreclosure proceedings. My stomach dropped. 3 payments? What the fuck? After I hung up, I went straight to my laptop and checked my account history. That's when I saw it. The mortgage payments had been getting smaller and smaller each month. Someone had been withdrawing money meant for the house. And I had a pretty good idea who. I tried to think logically. Maybe they were still in town. Maybe I could track them down, make them explain themselves. I drove around for hours, stopping by my dad's favorite diner, my mom's friend's house, even my sister's gym. Nothing. No one had seen them. It was like they had disappeared off the face of the earth. But then I got my first clue. I checked my shared bank statements again and found one last transaction from 2 days ago. A moving company. And the address? It wasn't just anywhere. It was in another state. They hadn't just left me. They had already started a new life. And they thought I'd just sit back and take it. It took me 3 days to track them down. 3 days of calling every contact I had, digging through financial records, and basically turning into a full-time detective. And when I finally found them, they weren't struggling. They weren't hiding in some shitty motel, scared of getting caught. They were living it up in a luxury apartment in Miami. I stood outside the glass high-rise, staring up at the balconies, my blood boiling. This wasn't some cheap, run-down complex. It was a penthouse building. The kind of place with valet parking and a doorman who looks at you like you don't belong. I didn't hesitate. I walked straight in. Sir, do you have an appointment? The receptionist barely looked up from her desk. I forced a smile. Yeah, I'm here to see the Collins family. They just moved in. She checked her computer. Do you have their unit number? I didn't, but I had something better. I pulled out my phone, opened my banking app, and flashed the last transaction from my drained account, the moving company's invoice. Right at the bottom, in black and white, was their new address. Penthouse. Fucking penthouse. I gave her the number and walked straight to the elevator. The second the doors opened on their floor, I heard laughter. I followed the sound to the door. My mom's laugh. My dad's deep chuckle. Sarah's voice, light and carefree like she wasn't the woman who had just destroyed my life. My hands were shaking when I knocked. The laughter stopped. I heard whispering, then footsteps. When the door finally opened, it wasn't my mom or my dad standing there. It was Sarah, in a silk robe holding a glass of wine. She froze when she saw me. Then, just like that, she sighed like I was some kind of fucking inconvenience. Kevin, what are you doing here? I wanted to scream, to demand answers, to grab her by the shoulders and shake some kind of humanity back into her. Instead, I stepped forward, forcing my way inside. Where the hell is my money? The apartment was even worse than I imagined. Marble floors, designer furniture, floor-to-ceiling windows with an ocean view, and there they were, me parents, lounging on an expensive couch like they didn't have a care in the world. My dad looked at me like I was some stranger off the street. My mom? She just pursed her lips. Kevin, she said, her voice disappointed. You shouldn't have come here. I shouldn't have come? I let out a bitter laugh. Oh, I'm sorry. Was I interrupting your vacation? You drained my account. You abandoned me. And you... I turned back to Sarah. You blocked me like I was some ex you were done with. Where the fuck is my money? Sarah sipped her wine and shrugged. Gone. Gone. Just gone. Like it was nothing. I couldn't breathe. I turned to my dad. Tell me you didn't know about this. Tell me you didn't plan this. He looked me dead in the eyes and said, Kevin, this isn't our fault. You let it happen. I swear to God, I almost punched him. Instead, I took a step back, my chest burning. You stole from me, I said. You left me with the debt. You don't even feel bad about it, do you? My mom sighed dramatically. Oh, stop being so dramatic, Kevin. It was just money. You're young, you'll make more. I felt something in me snap. I looked at all of them. These people, the people I had called family, and I realized in that moment that I had never actually mattered to them. Not as a son, not as a husband, not as a brother. I was just a wallet. I turned to leave. Where do you think you're going? Sarah called after me. You flew all the way here just to whine at us? I stopped in the doorway. I didn't look back when I said it. Number, I came here to see exactly what I'm going to destroy. And then I walked out. They thought they won. They thought I was done. They had no idea what was coming. I wish I could say I had some kind of genius revenge plan ready to go. The moment I walked out of that penthouse, I didn't. The truth? I was fucked. The bank wasn't bluffing. Within a month, they started foreclosure proceedings. The house, the one I had worked my ass off for, the one I had built for my family, was gone. My credit, destroyed. My job, barely keeping me afloat. I had nothing, no savings, no backup plan, and no one to turn to. Meanwhile, my dear family was still out there, living their best lives with my money, drinking champagne on some rooftop while I was crashing on a friend's couch. I spent nights staring at the ceiling, replaying everything in my head. How the fuck had I let this happen? How would I let them use me like that? I started spiraling, drinking too much, sleeping too little. For a while, I thought maybe that was it. Maybe they had won. Then, one night, I got a message that changed everything. An email from a lawyer. At first, I thought it was another bill collector, but when I opened it, my pulse spiked. Kevin Collins, I believe I have information that may be of interest to you. Please contact me at your earliest convenience. I had nothing left to lose, so I called. And that's when I found out that my family hadn't just stolen from me. They had left behind a paper trail of crimes. The lawyer, Daniel, was blunt. Your family didn't just drain your account, he said. They committed fraud. I gripped the phone. What do you mean fraud? Your mortgage payments, half of them were rerouted. Someone was diverting funds from your account before they ever reached the bank. That's why you fell behind so fast. I felt my stomach drop. So you're saying, I'm saying someone in your family didn't just take your money. They forged your authorization to redirect your funds elsewhere. I went ice cold. They hadn't just left me broke. They had set me up to take the fall. Daniel continued. And that's not all. Whoever did this was sloppy. There are signed documents, financial transfers linked to their accounts. If we push this, we could not only recover some of your losses, we could bring criminal charges against them. I closed my eyes, taking a slow, shaky breath. My family thought they had gotten away with it. They thought I was too weak, too broken to fight back. They had no idea what was coming. I met with Daniel the next day. He laid everything out, every fraudulent document, every illegal transfer. And then he asked me a question. Kevin, do you want to go after them? Legally, we have enough to make their lives very difficult. But once we start this, there's no going back. I looked at him, and I smiled. Oh, Daniel, I said, leaning back in my chair. I don't just want to go after them. I want to ruin them. Revenge isn't about rage. It's not about screaming in someone's face or throwing punches. No, real revenge is quiet. It's patient. And when it finally hits, it's so devastating that the other person doesn't even realize what's happening until they're already drowning. That's exactly how I plan to destroy my family. Step 1. Let them dig their own grave. My first move was simple. Nothing. I didn't confront them. I didn't send them threats. I didn't let them know I had a damn thing on them. Instead, I watched. I waited. With Daniel's help, I pulled every financial record I could get my hands on, every bank statement, every suspicious transfer, every lie they had written down on paper. And then, I started digging deeper. I found more than I expected. See, my family wasn't just living off the money they stole from me. They had gotten greedy. My dad had been running under-the-table business deals, moving money around like he was some kind of Wall Street genius. My mom had taken out a second mortgage in a house that wasn't even hers anymore. And my sister? She had started laundering money through some online scam. They weren't just thieves. They were criminals. And the best part? They were so confident that I was out of the picture, they weren't even covering their tracks. Step 2. Pull the right strings. Once I had everything, and I mean everything, I made my move. I filed a formal fraud report with the bank, submitted every forged document, every illegal transfer, every unauthorized payment they had made in my name. Then, I contacted the IRS. Because here's the thing about my dear greedy family. They hadn't been paying taxes on half their dirty money. And the government? Oh, they love catching people who cheat on their taxes. But I wasn't done. Not even close. Step 3. The trap. I needed them to panic. I needed them to move money because the second they did, it would trigger red flags in the system. So I played my final card. I sent my mom a fake type an anonymous message saying that someone was looking into their finances. I waited. And like clockwork, my sister made a massive transfer to an offshore account right after my dad tried to withdraw everything from their joint savings. Boom. The second that money moved, their accounts got flagged for suspicious activity. Banks froze their assets. The IRS launched an audit. And the police? Well, they got involved too. Because fraud? That's one thing. But financial crimes on a federal level? That's a fucking nightmare. Step 4. Watch them burn. It happened fast. One day, they were living their high life in Miami. The next, their accounts were frozen, their debts were piling up, and they were getting calls from the feds. Then came the cherry on top. A lawsuit. Because guess what? The fraud they committed in my name, that wasn't just criminal, it was civil too. And thanks to Daniel, I had a case that would make sure they paid every last cent back. If they had the money, that is. Which they didn't. The best part? They never saw me coming. I didn't show up at their door screaming. I didn't send them angry texts. I just sat back and watched as their entire fake empire collapsed in on itself. And the best part? They had no idea it was me. Not at first. But then, my Momo, my poor, pathetic mother called me. For the first time since they left me with nothing. She was crying. Kevin, she sobbed into the phone. Something's wrong. The bank froze our money. The IRS is saying we owe taxes. We don't know what to do. I smiled, leaned back, and in the calmest fucking voice imaginable, I said, "Well, Mom, sounds like a you problem." And then I hung up. I wish I could say that was the last time I heard from them, that after I hung up on my sobbing mother, I never had to deal with them again. But the universe wasn't done humiliating them yet. The lawsuits went through fast. With all the evidence Daniel and I had gathered, there was no way they could worm their way out of this. The fraud, the tax evasion, the forged documents, it was all ironclad. And the best part? They were too fucking stupid to fight back properly. Instead of cutting their losses and trying to settle, they lied in court. My dad swore he had no idea how the funds got transferred. My mom tried the "we're just a loving family" act, saying I was misunderstanding everything. Sarah? Oh, Sarah tried to play the victim, said I was doing this out of spite, that I was punishing her for leaving me. The judge didn't buy a second of it. The verdict that ruined their lives. It took less than an hour for the court to decide. The official ruling? They were guilty of fraud. They were guilty of tax evasion. They owed me over $300,000 in damages. And the IRS was fining them over $1 million. Oh, and remember those frozen accounts? The ones they thought they could get back? Gone. Seized. Confiscated by the government. The penthouse? Gone. The luxury cars? Gone. Their perfect life in Miami? Fucking gone. And me? I sat there in the courtroom, calm as hell, while they lost everything. I thought that was it, that they'd disappear and I'd never hear from them again. But a week later, I got one last call. My dad. I let it go to voicemail, but I listened to it later. His voice was shaky, desperate. "Kevin, we lost everything. Your mother and I, we don't have anywhere to go. Sarah, she's talking about leaving the country. We made mistakes, son, but we're still your family. Please, we need help." I laughed. I laughed so hard I had to sit down. These pathetic excuses for human beings had the nerve to come crawling back? After everything? I didn't call him back. Instead, I sent him a text. "Family takes care of each other. That's what you always told me, right? Hope you figure it out. Good luck." And then, I blocked his number. Last I heard, my parents were living in some shitty motel, trying to scrape together enough money to survive. Sarah? Vanished. Rumor has it she ran to some other country to dodge the fines. Not my problem. Me? I got my life back. I rebuilt. And every time I think about what they did, I don't feel anger anymore. I just smile. Because they thought they could leave me with nothing. And instead, I took everything from them. And I enjoyed every second of it. Let me know what you think about this story. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. Feel free to share your own experiences too. It would be interesting to read. And if you enjoyed it, don't forget to like and subscribe. Your support means a lot. Take care.